Good morning. I'm Bruce Westerman. I'm a freshman member from Arkansas, and I serve on the Budget Committee. I'd like to thank Speaker Ryan not only for his leadership as Speaker, but for the hard work he put in as Chairman of the Budget Committee in the past, and also to Chairman Price for his leadership on the Budget Committee and the Budget Committee staff. Today is an exciting day when we're going to get to see the process of reconciliation work, where we will put a bill on the President's desk and give him the choice to support the American people or to reject the will of Congress and the will of the American people. There's a lot of good things in this bill that have already been talked about. One thing I would like to highlight is this bill does repeal Medicaid expansion. This is one of the most egregious parts of Obamacare. If you look at traditional Medicaid, it's for the aged, blind, and the disabled. Medicaid expansion is for able-bodied working-age adults. We pay 57% of the cost to states for traditional Medicaid for the aged, blind, and disabled, yet we're paying 90% to 100% of the cost for Medicaid expansion. Today's a good day. I'm excited to be a part of Congress and a part of the Republican conference.
That was Congressman Bruce Westerman earlier today at a press conference with Speaker of the House Paul Ryan. Congressman Westerman joins us now on the phone. Bruce, good to talk to you again, my friend.
Hey, Paul, good to talk to you. Good to be on your show.
Absolutely. Congratulations, really, I think, are just on the big day. It just seems like it's a big day for everybody who has an interest in wanting at least their belief that Obamacare is not right for the country to be expressed, and you guys certainly did that today.
Yeah, and I just stepped out of the House chamber where we voted to send the reconciliation bill to the President's desk. So he's going to get the bill now, and he'll have a choice to make whether he wants to go with the will of Congress or stick to his namesake legislation and keep Obamacare in place and keep to continue funding Planned Parenthood with federal tax dollars. So this reconciliation bill does a lot of good things, but I've got a pretty good idea what the President's going to do with it. But I was excited today because when Leader McCarthy spoke for the reconciliation bill on the House floor, he said, I think he was saying this mainly to our Democratic friends, that this may get vetoed this time. We're going to try to override the veto, but we'll bring it back. And someday we'll have somebody in the White House who won't veto it, who will sign it, and we can put real health care reform in place.
Wow. Yeah, so we expect President Obama to veto this, as you're referencing here. But this, I think a lot of people, they've wanted this to happen for a long time. And I like the idea personally of just continuing to send the bill to him. That may not make the press happy and him happy, but just continue, especially when these fines get worse. The individual mandate penalties are coming out now. I'm actually kind of waiting on mine. I don't know when it's going to come, but I'm going to get one soon.
Yeah, I've had constituents send me their letters from the IRS, and I spoke on the floor in favor of this bill. And one thing I pointed out was that I had constituents that used to have health care or health insurance, and now they don't because their premiums have gone up so much they can't afford it. So now they have no health insurance, and the only thing to show for it is a fine from the IRS. So you're taking working families who, quite frankly, with the expensive premiums, have to decide whether to, maybe pay their mortgage and buy food or buy health insurance. And now they used to have health insurance because they could afford it. Now they don't, and now they're getting a few $1,000s in fines from the IRS. So anybody that thinks that's a program that works, they've got a warped definition of success.
Yeah, they certainly do. I was talking yesterday how, to me, this just seems like if you really look at this, it's a redistribution of wealth scheme more than it's about health care, because you have people who can't afford insurance, or they're just spending so much more in order to be able to afford it, while we are taking money and using it, taxpayer money, to give people health insurance for free. And that's where I really want to bring up, you specifically pointed out, and you even said, I want to point out that this is ending Medicaid expansion. course, here in Arkansas, we're trying to figure out ways to keep it. And so what are your thoughts on how significant it is that there's will in the Republican Party, at least nationally, for this vote to get rid of Medicaid expansion?
Yeah, well, if you fully repeal Obamacare, Medicaid expansion goes with it. Medicaid expansion is, I've always looked at it as half of the Obamacare equation. You've got Medicaid expansion for able-bodied working-age adults that are below 133% of the poverty level. If you're between 133 and 400, then you have the exchange part of Obamacare and the insurance subsidies. To me, the worst part of Obamacare is the Medicaid expansion part, because it's taking a broken program, traditional Medicaid, that was put in place for elderly people, for disabled people, and now for children. You're taking that broken program and expanding it. Arkansas did a different take on it by accepting the expansion money and implementing a more insurance-based scenario, but you're still putting able-bodied working-age adults on 100% funded or taxpayer-funded health care. That is the closest thing to single-payer health care that you can find in this country. And, I think if, down looking into the future, what this administration and most liberals would like would be for the insurance subsidy part to go away and just to go to a single-payer health care system, and this is the blueprint for it.
Yeah.
And it's another thing I said on the House floor is if you start with a bad blueprint, you get bad results. And I'm an engineer, so that I was using that analogy there.
Mm-hmm.
But Medicaid in itself is a horrible blueprint, and to go in and not fix the problem with traditional Medicaid, which is something that's needed for elderly people, and this is grandma in the nursing home, this is disabled people, these are children. These are the ones that are truly in need. But that program is broken and was bankrupting the state of Arkansas before Obamacare ever came along. And it's broken across the country. And what Obamacare does through Medicaid expansion is just puts that on steroids. That's where the most people are being added into Obamacare is through Medicaid expansion. The number is close to, I think, 12 million people, and they're projected it to get up to 16 million people, and only 30 states have accepted Medicaid expansion. So this drives it's a huge cost to the country and to the taxpayers. The bad part here, Paul, is if we look across the country, there are 32.8 million able-bodied, these are non-disabled, 18 to 64-year-olds that have no job and no income. What our country needs is to get people back to work. We need economic policies that foster a good environment for job creators so that we can get people back to work, earning their own money, paying for their own health insurance, and providing for themselves and their families.
I completely agree with that. I feel like jobs is certainly the answer to to people who are dependent on government. And so speaking of dependency, you mentioned 30 states have implemented this. You mentioned that Congressman McCarthy said, we want to one day send this thing back, and we want to have a president that will actually sign it. So with that being said, my question is, when states continue or decide to implement Medicaid expansion, and you have states that get their population more dependent on the government than they were before, does that make it harder when you start to look at a Republican presidency with a Republican Congress? When states implement Obamacare, say when Arkansas continues with Medicaid expansion, do you think that might make it harder to make the case to take it away when it comes time, if we actually ever do get to repeal this thing?
Oh, absolutely. And I made this argument when we were going through the Medicaid expansion debate in Arkansas. Once you put these programs in place, they're very difficult to get rid of. They're it's much easier to never put them in place than to put one in place and then try to get rid of it. I think I'm having all these Reagan quotes go through my mind. He said the closest thing to the eternal life on Earth is a temporary government program.
Yeah, right.
He also said the best welfare program is a job. So that's what we need to be working for. We need to return our country to. We need to help our manufacturing base. We need to help small businesses. And what we're doing through programs like Obamacare is we're putting a stranglehold on small business. And they may not even be, and their employees aren't subject to Obamacare, but what Obamacare has done is driven their health insurance premiums up so high that they can't afford health insurance for their employees now, or that the cost is so high to the employee that they can't afford health insurance. So you got hardworking taxpayers that are out there trying to do what's right, provide for themselves and their families, and they can't afford health insurance, whereas you've got people who are able-bodied working-age adults who aren't working, they're getting 100% taxpayer-funded health insurance.
Mm-hmm. And so we have this problem. I mean, in a lot of different programs, but specifically with this one, when you're not talking about, and that's why I think you make the point. And at least when I hear you say Medicaid expansion is not for the aged, the blind, the disabled, it's for able to work adults. I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand. But when I hear you say that, the first thing that I think of, Congressman Westerman, is the disincentives that creates to employment and the welfare cliff. And that really goes directly against this goal of more jobs for Arkansans and Americans.
Yeah, and I've heard it over and over from employers. I had this idea that there just weren't jobs out there. Part of the problem that employers tell me is they have jobs, but they can't hire people to fill those jobs. I've had employers tell me that they can run 2 shifts in their operation, but they can't find people to fill those jobs. One employer, I think he said it best, that I can't compete with the federal government. So when you've got free health care, when you've got free child care, you've got free cell phones, you've got food stamps, you've got housing allowance, you got heating and cooling allowance, and the list goes on and on and on, and you stack all that up, and you do create an incentive not to work. And then you put on top of that, if you're working, you've got to take taxes off of the money that you make before you can start providing for yourself, whereas all these earned income credits and all of that are tax-free. So you take $35,000 to $40,000 in benefits from the federal government, and you've got to get up to $50,000 or $60,000 in a job to be on equal footing is where you are getting all these benefits after you take taxes out.
Yeah, so we have this problem. Like I love that. I can't compete with the federal government. We're paying. We have people that can't find employees because we, as the government, are paying them not to work. Is really what it comes down to. So.
Yeah, and then it drives me crazy. They release these unemployment statistics showing that unemployment's down. I've thought about doing a presentation on the House floor called numerator denominator, because when you calculate a percentage, you've got the top of the fraction and the bottom of the fraction, and you're reducing the number of people in the workforce, the denominator, and saying that the percentage is going down. It's funny math.
I bet that is frustrating to you as an engineer. To me, it would take a while to catch it because I'm not a math guy. But yeah, that does make sense. Congressman Bruce Westerman, thank you so much for coming on the program at such short notice. I do appreciate it, and I can't wait to have you on again soon. I know we're going to probably talk next week after the State of the Union address, so I'm excited about that.
Yep, I'll be on the House floor again tonight on C-SPAN talking about the president's gun control executive orders. So we're going to have a special order on that. We're working to see what, if anything, we can do to stop those orders, which are, I think, mainly he's trying to create a distraction because he's trying to divert people away from national security issues and a whole litany of things. But the last year of this president's term in office should be something exciting every week, probably.
Yeah, that's true. It's
and
like,
not in a good way.
Not
in a good way.
Let's say not in a good way. Well, we do appreciate you coming on, Congressman Bruce Westerman. Everybody, we'll talk to you again soon, sir.
Thanks, Paul.